Hello everyone. So today we will discuss about the few important case laws on the custodial torture and death in the custody. So the first case was in this list is DK Basu versus State of West Bengal, 1997, 1 SSC 416. So in this case, the DK Basu, an executive chairman of the Legal Aid Services, West Bengal, wrote a letter to the Chief Justice of India highlighting the incidence of custodial death and custodial violence. So the Supreme Court treated the latter as a writ petition under Article 32 of the Constitution of India, and the court took cognizance to increasing allegations of torture and death in police custody and sought to lay down guidelines to prevent such abuse. So, in this case, the main legal and constitutional issues were that violation of fundamental rights under Article 21 and right to life and personal liberty, and 22 protection against. So in this case, the legal constitutional issues are violation of fundamental rights under Article 21 as a right to life and personal liberty, and Article 22 the protection against arbitrary arrest of the Constitution. And the second one is need for procedural safeguard to prevent human rights violation by the law enforcement agencies. So in this case, the Supreme Court issued a set of 11 guidelines for arrest and detention, including the police officer making an arrest must bear accurate, visible, and clear identification with their name and designation. And an arrest memo must be prepared at the time of arrest with the date and time of arrest arrested by a witness attested by a witness, and the information regarding the arrest must be communicated to the arrestee's relative or the friend, and the arrestee must be informed to the right to have someone inform of the arrest, and the arrestee must be subjected to a medical examination at intervals of 48 hours, and a police control room must display the information of person arrested. So, in this case, the court emphasized that failure to comply with these guidelines would render the concerned officers liable for departmental action and possible contempt of court. These all guidelines also incorporated in new Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita under Section 35 and various other sections. So the next important case is related to the Neelbati Behera versus State of Odisha 1993 to SSC 746. So in this case, the petitioner's son died in police custody with sign of severe injuries which indicates custodial torture. And the authorities initially claimed that the disease is kept from custody and was run over by a train, a story that was constructed by the postmortem reports. Um, in this case, the legal issue was that applicability of Article 32 for claiming compensation for custodial death and whether the state can be held strictly liable for the act of its own officers resulting in a violation of Article 21. So in this case, the Supreme Court held that the public law proceedings under Article 32 to 26 could be used to award monetary compensation for a proven violation of fundamental rights. And the court placed reliance on the principle that the state is vicariously liable for the act of its employees, especially in the case of custodial violence. And compensation of 1,50,000 was awarded to the mother of deceased, and the court clarified that this was an addition to any criminal or civil liability. The next important case is related to the um, validity of arbitrary detention. The Joginder Kumar versus State of UP. So, 1994, 4 SSC 260. In this case, the Joginder Kumar is a young lawyer, was taken by the police for questioning and detained without formal arrest for several days. and no reasons were provided to his family, and no formal procedure were followed. So, in this case, the legal and constitutional issues were validity of arbitrary detention by the police without informing the detainee or relatives about the reason for the arrest, and the interplay between Article 21 and Article 22. So, in this case, the Supreme Court observed that the arrest should not be a routine procedure. It must be based on credible material or reasonable suspicion. So, the police must record the reasons for arrest in their case diary and share these reasons when procedure before a magistrate, and the court underscored that denial of freedom by mere whims or suspicion of a police cannot be justified without following due process. Next important case is Sheila Varse versus State of Maharashtra 1983 to SSC 96. In this case, a journalist and activist, Sheila Varse, highlighted a plethora of female prisoners in police lockups where they were subjected to custodial violence and sexual abuse. And she filed a petition in the Supreme Court seeking protection and better condition for the female detainees. So in this case, two important legal and constitutional issues were violation of Article 21 due to inhuman treatment of women in a custody, and necessity for separate and specialized guideline for handling women in a custody. So in this case, the Supreme Court directed that female suspect be kept in separate lockup under the supervision of female constable, and it further ordered regular judicial oversight of lockups to ensure no torture or harassment took place. And the Supreme Court also stressed immediate legal aid to women detainees and prompt procedure before the magistrate. So the next important case is Saheli versus Commissioner of Police, 1991 SSC 422. In this case, a child died as a result of police brutality in a slum area, prompting an NGO, Saheli, to file an public interest litigation. The question arose regarding the vicarious liability of the state for policemen's excesses. So, in this case, the legal and constitutional issues were whether the state should be held liable to pay compensation for the wrongful act of its officers, and the interplay between criminal liability of the individual officer and the state's responsibility to compensate the victim. So, in this case, the Supreme Court held that the state is liable for the child's death caused by the police brutality and awarded compensation to the mother, and affirmed that the public law remedies exist aside by side with the private law remedy is in tort and criminal proceedings. So thank you.